For the past 10 years, I've roamed the world. I've investigated organized crime and corruption all over the place, from the jungles of Colombia, investigating cocaine trade there, cocaine trafficking, to the outskirts of Bucharest, where I would go to buy women from traffickers and to take these women to shelters for the victims of human trafficking. I've worked with many investigative reporters all over the world. And at some point, I realized that what I'm doing is not efficient. It's not enough. What I realized was that I need you. I need you to work with me. And this is what we are going to do right now. Our story starts in a village. This is the village of Chovdar, in a remote area of Azerbaijan. It's a country not far from here. Now, you see there is a lot of poverty in Chovdar. People live in really, really bad conditions there. Houses like this, poverty. These people were displaced from Nagorno-Karabakh, which is a region where Armenia and Azerbaijan are fighting over territory. It's a common story, in our world. We have displaced people all over the place, and they are not doing well. But the people in Chovdar now have an extra problem. Besides the poverty, they have a problem with the water. This is the only water supply for the entire village of Chovdar. It's not a big village, but even for a family, such a water supply, just one source of water, for washing, for cooking, for going about the daily stuff, it's not enough. If you ask the villagers in Chovdar about this problem, they will tell you it's the Ingili's fault. The Ingilis are to blame. Now, the Ingilis is the Azeri term for the Englishmen. So they're blaming this on some Brits. And that is for one reason. In the vicinity of Chovdar, there is a mining site. There's a Goldfield, which is a story that I suppose resonates with Romania a little bit in these times. So what happens with this Goldfield is that they needed to use water in order to build this Goldfield, in order to supply their workers and all that. And they diverted the water from the village. So the village was left with just that tiny bit of water there. Now, let's see why the citizens of Chovdar are blaming, the Ingilis for their problems. A simple Google search. So this is all doable. A simple Google search with the terms Chovdar, village, Azerbaijan, Goldfield, will bring up a few documents, a few official documents released by the Azeri government. One of these documents is this. It's signed by the president of Azerbaijan, Mr. Ilham Aliyev. And it says that the mining rights for the Chovdar Goldfield are given to a consortium of companies. And one of these companies is called Globex International LLP. And this is indeed a company from the UK. So you might say this is the reason why, the villagers are blaming the Ingilis for their water problems. But let's go through this together. Now, once you identify a company, once you know the name of a company, it's very easy to follow the money or to follow the company across borders, even if the company is from the UK. So there's a website, there's an official website in the UK, it's called Companies House, where you go, you input the name of the company, and you find out who are the owners of that company. This is the website, and if you search for the company Globex International LLP, one of the companies in the Chovdar Consortium, You'll find here Globex International LLP. We click further on it, and we'll find out that the company is actually owned by 3 other companies, and all of them are from Panama. So let me ask you, should the villagers in Chovdar blame the Panama citizens for their troubles with the water? Probably not, because we have to investigate a bit further. We go to another database. This time we go to Panama. And Panama has the same type of, every country in the world has the same setting. There's always an official registry of companies. There's one in Romania, there's one in Bulgaria, there's one everywhere. So in Panama is, again, very easy to check, who's behind these companies. Arblos Management Corporation, Hisik Management SA, and so on. We can also see from this document that the 3 companies are at the same address in Panama City. Now, if we actually check who's behind these companies, and I'll make this story short by showing you an infographic, we will find out something quite interesting. Namely, the fact that the 3 Panama companies are owned by the daughters of the Azeri president. So let me ask you, who should the Chovdar villagers blame for their water troubles? They should probably, blame their own government, their own president. Now, our investigation doesn't stop here, because crime and corruption flows across borders. And sometimes we might say, we're very, we keep a distance from that, and we're not affected. But in fact, we are all affected. We are all in it. Now, once we identified that the Chovdar villagers should blame the daughters of the president for their troubles, and the president, because the president signed off that Goldfield to his daughters, we can continue this work. But this time, we need the help of hackers. And I'm talking about civic hackers. I'm not talking about the bad guys, right? Why do we need the help of hackers? Because, for instance, the registry of Panama is free of charge, is open, but you can only use it if you know the name of the company that you're looking for. And usually, our quest for exposing organized crime and corruption starts with the name of a person. Now, in this case, we identify the fact that the daughters of the president are involved in these hidden businesses. Once we identify a pattern, we can be almost sure that the pattern repeats itself over and over. So, what a friend of mine who works for my organization, the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, his name is Dan O'Huigan. He's, by the way, a British hacker. So he's not to blame for the Chovdar stuff. So what Dan did was he scraped the Panama registry of companies, the official registry. That means he took all the information from that registry in a legal manner, and he reshaped it. And he created this much simpler interface, where you see you can search the Panama records by the name of a person. Now, if we do so, and we put in there the name Aliyev, what will we find out? We'll find out that the 2 daughters, Leila Aliyeva and Arzu Aliyeva, are in the registry. And we also find a 3rd name, which is Mehriban Aliyeva. Guess who this is? This is the wife of the president, and also a member of the parliament in Baku. Now, if we click on any of these names, of the 3 names, what will we find out? There's not just the 3 companies that own the Goldfield. There's actually many more companies. There's about 10 here. Now, all these companies own back in Azerbaijan all sorts of other interests, including a telecom company, unknown to the Azeris, unknown to the locals there. Of course, if we go further and further, we'll get down to the data. So you see, this is an investigation that would have taken any of you a few minutes and a few databases. Sometimes it's that easy. And of course, you need to have a hacker on your side or to know where to access these databases, which we'll get to right away. Now, it's not always, that, okay, so you're saying, okay, it's a corruption case, it involves Azerbaijan, British companies, Panama companies, and all that. But sometimes, sometimes corruption and organized crime can strike home. And this actually happens quite often. I'll give you this example. Last year, here in Bucharest, an innocent man was gunned down in a neighborhood that is not far from here. He was coming from work, he was going to his family, and he was gunned down with a Kalashnikov. Now, it turned, the police started investigating, and everybody was puzzled. What happened? I mean, this was an innocent guy, and he got shot. What happened was he was mistaken for a mobster. So a hired killer followed him for a couple of weeks, thinking that he's running a criminal gang, just because that guy, the criminal, used to drive the same model, make of car as our innocent guy. Now, we investigated this case as well, and you see, the thing with investigative reporting is that it's not done at a local level, and that's, there are lots of problems with the media, and I'll refer to that in a moment as well. But it's also, I mean, when you're talking about crime and corruption, it always goes across borders. High-level crime and corruption, it always goes across borders. It's not confined to borders, to a country. Organized crime is actually a globalization driving force, if you want. So, in order to fight a network, you need to create a network. Now, in this case, it took us cooperation with journalists in the Republic of Moldova, in Russia, and in the UK. Why is that? Because the hired killer, the person that shot, that gunned down the person, the innocent citizen in Bucharest, was actually, we discovered, a member of an assassin's cell. It wasn't just him. There was a bunch of guys residing in Moldova and in Iași in Romania and in Russia that were working together, and they would just execute orders coming from higher up. We were able to determine this, and we worked on this with the Guardian, to expose this criminal cell, just because we because we worked across borders and because we used databases in many, many countries. And this also goes back to how organized crime functions. Organized crime functions across frontiers. Law enforcement is usually confined to a country's borders. Let's take the Romanian police here. It's paid from your money, right? So the Romanian police has to defend its citizens. It's not responsible for defending, the human rights or to investigate violations that happen elsewhere in the world. And the truth is that right now we don't have any sort of global police or global intelligence agency, if you disregard, of course, the NSA. But again, even if we mention agencies, very powerful agencies as the NSA or the FBI or the CIA or the GHCQ or whatever, even then, they represent their national interest. They are not global. This is why we need to unite forces in order to uncover this void and in order to expose corruption that happens at the transnational level. Let me give you one other example. I suppose some of you are familiar with the horse meat scandal. Coming back to the Brits, a bunch of Brits got pissed off that they ate some lasagna with horse instead of beef, which is right. I mean, you should be pissed off about that. But the truth is that this horse meat scandal it's much more than that. We investigated this as well, and we found out that there's a network. There's a network that is made of secrecy that imports, exports our food in Europe, which is very, very dangerous. Now it happened that some Brits, ate a little bit of horse. But next time it might be, that the Brits or us, the Romanians, will eat something that is really poisoned, that is tainted, and this could turn into something really, really ugly. Coming to the media, I always have my problems with the media. Although I used to work, as a mainstream journalist, in the mainstream media. The problem is that lots of times the media is itself tangled into let's say, not kosher business interests, you know. And again, if you look at the media, and we are doing this, you know, for the past few years, you'll see that the media in Romania and elsewhere in Eastern Europe is part of criminal networks. You'll see that media owners, unfortunately, are involved in crime, and they're using their media to attack their business opponents, to attack politicians, judges, whoever is against them. So this is why we need, again, to join forces. This is why, for instance, we created a tool that I launched in New York with Google Ideas just 2 weeks ago. It's a tool that is called Investigative Dashboard that wants to help investigators and citizens to investigate wrongdoing. Because I feel that what we need to do right now is, I mean, even if you don't care about the people in Chovdar, even if you don't care about the Brits elsewhere, you know, this is going to hit you back if you don't investigate. So imagine, you know, a world where, you know, everybody would be concerned, you know, about everybody. And I don't want to leave this at this, to keep this at this abstract level. I'll give you just one final example. This is one of the biggest corruption affair and the biggest fraud in contemporary Russia. This is money stolen, hundreds of millions of dollars stolen from the Russian budget. And again, we untangled the network and we followed the money across borders. We worked with people like you in exposing this. And in the end, we found out the beneficiaries of some of this fraud. What happened was, you know, these were some Cyprus-based companies owned by BVI companies, so you see all this convoluted kind of, you know, scheme there. But the money were invested in New York. And that's because, you know, if I would be to steal from this room, I probably don't trust this room as a secure place. So it's kind of weird and funny at the same time that people that steal from countries where you don't really have democracy, you know, put their money, deposit their money in democracies where they know that their money is safe. So this happens all the time. So in this case, for instance, we managed to find out that the money was invested in property on Pine Street, which is near, you know, in the center of Manhattan. We managed to expose this, and as a result, the prosecution in the US started a case and froze this property. So these are results of investigative reporting. But imagine, you know, I mean, we are just a handful of investigative reporters doing this. Imagine what might happen if all of you would participate in investigative efforts. Imagine what would happen if, you know, the New Yorkers would just mine their local databases looking for MPs from Romania or from MPs from Azerbaijan for their property there. And imagine what would happen if they would pass that information back to us here in Romania. Or if we would look here, you know, for you know, corrupt, let's say, officials from Moldova, you know, who set up companies here. It only takes a few web searches. It's really, really easy, you know. There's really nothing to it, and we should give a little bit of time, you know, to help expose corruption and wrongdoing. I mean, it's in the end about the world that we choose to live in, and it's also fun. It's also a lot of fun. You'll be against some really clever people. I mean, these criminals are not dumb at all. You know, some of the people that we encountered could have been the next Bill Gates, but they chose a life of crime. So it's also a mind challenge to work against these people. You know, it's also dangerous, and but that's, you know, if you work in a network, if you dedicate time to a network, the risk is less, because you dissipate the risk across the network, and this is what we're doing. So please join our networks. Thank you very much.